Johnny Cash walked onto that Ontario stage, and producer Robert Shelton reached for his phone. What happened in the next 60 seconds didn't just end a career, it rewrote the rules of country music forever. February 22, 1968, London, Ontario. Robert Shelton stood backstage at the Gardens Arena, watching 15,000 people file in. He was 53 years old, wore a $2,000 Italian suit, and had slicked back gray hair that he dyed every 2 weeks. He controlled the biggest country music empire in North America. His company, Shelton Entertainment Group, was worth $50 million. He'd made or broken careers with a single phone call for 20 years. And tonight, he had a problem named Johnny Cash. Shelton pulled out the contract of 47 city tours worth $3.2 million. Johnny Cash was the headliner. But there was a clause, written in Shelton's own handwriting. June Carter will not appear on stage with Johnny Cash. No exceptions. Why? Because Johnny Cash was still married to Vivian Liberto, and June Carter, the woman Johnny loved, was damaging the brand image. That's what Shelton told Billboard in January 1968. We can't have a married man parading his mistress on national television. It's bad for sponsors, bad for ticket sales, bad for business. Shelton had the power to enforce this. He controlled 147 venues across North America. He had contracts with Coca-Cola, Ford Motors, and RCA Victor worth $18 million combined. Those sponsors had morality clauses, and Shelton used those clauses like weapons. June Carter sat in her dressing room, 37 years old, staring at the wall. She'd been performing since she was 10, 27 years on stage. She'd sung with Elvis Presley. She'd toured with her family, the legendary Carter family. She'd won acclaim from every major publication. She'd written Ring of Fire, the song that saved Johnny's career in 1963 and earned him $2.3 million. But tonight, she wasn't allowed to perform because Robert Shelton said so. June's hands were shaking. Not from fear, from anger. She'd spent 3 years helping Johnny fight his amphetamine addiction. 3 years watching him almost die. 3 years pulling him back from the edge. And now some producer in a $2,000 suit was telling her she wasn't good enough to stand next to him. "Johnny," she said when he walked in, "you don't have to do this. I'll be fine. I'll watch from the hotel." Johnny Cash looked at her. He was 36 years old, 6 months sober after years of amphetamine addiction that nearly killed him 4 times. His face was gaunt. His hands were steady for the first time in years. He'd lost 40 pounds getting clean. His black suit hung loose on his frame. "How much do I owe Shelton if I break the contract?" Johnny asked his manager, Saul Holoff. Saul Holoff went pale. He was a short, nervous man who'd managed Johnny for 6 years. He'd seen Johnny at his worst, passed out in hotel rooms, arrested in El Paso, banned from the Grand Ole Opry. "Johnny, don't." "How much?" Saul's voice cracked. $750,000 in penalties. Plus he'll sue for damages, probably another $2 million. And you'll never work a major venue again. Shelton controls them all. Every promoter in North America will blacklist you. Johnny nodded slowly. "And June's supposed to just sit here while I'm out there. That's the deal you signed." "I signed a lot of things when I was high," Johnny said. "Doesn't make them right." Robert Shelton walked up to Johnny Cash. He was flanked by 2 security guards, both over 6 feet, both wearing earpieces. Shelton was smiling, that corporate smile that never reached the eyes. "Big night." Johnny sold out. 15,312 tickets. "We're filming for CBC National Broadcast too. 20 million viewers across Canada and the US. Biggest audience you'll ever have." Johnny looked at him. "June's going on with me." The smile vanished. "No, she's not." "Yes, she is." Shelton stepped closer. His cologne was expensive and overpowering. "You walk out there with her, I'll cut the power. I'll refund every ticket. I'll shut this whole thing down, and then I'll sue you for everything you have. Your house in Hendersonville, your cars, your publishing rights to every song you've ever written. I'll take it all, Johnny. Every last dollar. Johnny didn't blink. You done? I'm dead serious. Cash. So am I. Johnny picked up his guitar, the beat-up Martin D35 he'd played since 1965. June's going on. You can cut the power, you can sue me, you can do whatever you want. But she's going on. Shelton's face went red. His jaw clenched. You arrogant son of Adu, you have an idea what you're throwing away. This tour is your comeback. You've been sober for 6 months, and people are finally taking you seriously again. Rolling Stone is doing a cover story. Time magazine wants an interview. You walk out there with her and it's over. All of it. June appeared in the doorway. She'd heard everything. Her mascara was running. Johnny, don't, she whispered. It's not worth it. I'm not worth it. Johnny turned to her. His eyes were clear, the clearest they'd been in years. You've saved my life 3 times. Once in 1965 when I overdosed in that Atlanta hotel and you found me turning blue. Once in 1966 when I was going to drive off Nickajack Cave Cliff and you talked me down for 2 hours. And once last year when I wanted to quit everything, music, sobriety, life, and you sat with me until sunrise and reminded me why I'm here. His voice broke. You think I'm gonna let some suit tell me you're not good enough to stand next to me? Tears ran down June's face. She couldn't speak. Johnny looked back at Shelton. See you in court. Robert Shelton grabbed Johnny's arm. I will destroy you. I will personally call every venue, every promoter, every radio station. You'll be playing county fairs for $500 a night. Is that what you want? Johnny pulled his arm free. Better than being your puppet. The lights went up. Johnny Cash walked out alone. The crowd roared. 15,000 people on their feet, screaming. He played Folsom Prison Blues. Then I walked the line. The audience was going wild. Johnny's voice was strong, clear, powerful. Then Johnny stopped. Mid-song he put his guitar down. The arena went silent. You could hear the air conditioning humming. There's someone I want to bring out here, Johnny said into the microphone. His voice echoed through the arena. Someone who means more to me than anyone in this world. But I've been told I can't. Told it's bad for business. Told it'll ruin my career. Told it'll cost me everything. 15,000 people waited. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Well, Johnny said, I've ruined a lot of things in my life. My first marriage, my relationship with my daughters, my health, my reputation. Might as well add one more to the list. He turned toward the wings. June, come on out here. Backstage, Robert Shelton screamed into his radio, cut the feed, cut it now. Shut down the cameras. The CBC director, a 28-year-old named Michael Patterson, looked at his crew. Nobody moved. They wanted to see what happened next. I said cut it. Shelton was losing his mind. His face was purple. Spit flew from his mouth. No, Michael said simply. This is history. June Carter walked onto the stage. The crowd erupted, a wall of sound so loud the building shook. She was crying. Her hands covered her mouth. Johnny took her hand. This woman, he said to the audience, has stood by me when I didn't deserve it. When I was strung out on pills, when I was mean and angry and impossible to love. She pulled me out of hell more times than I can count. And some people think that's scandalous. Some people think she's bad for my image. He paused. The silence was deafening. But you know what I think? I think the scandal is that it took me this long to do this. Johnny Cash got down on one knee. The arena gasped. 15,000 people, one collective breath. The CBC cameras zoomed in. 20 million people were watching. June's legs almost gave out. She grabbed Johnny's shoulder to steady herself. June Carter, Johnny said, his voice shaking but clear. I'm not a perfect man. I've made every mistake a man can make. But you make me want to be better. You make me believe I can be better. Will you marry me? June couldn't speak. She was sobbing. She just nodded over and over and over. The crowd went insane. People were standing on their seats. Strangers were hugging. Grown men were crying. The noise was so loud it registered on seismographs 50 miles away. Johnny stood up, pulled June close, and kissed her. The cameras captured everything. Backstage, Robert Shelton stared at the monitor. His mouth hung open. His hands were shaking. His empire was crumbling in real time on national television. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder. "Robert, we should get out," Shelton whispered. "What?" "Get out." Shelton threw his coffee cup at the wall. "It shattered all of you. Get out." Shelton was waiting with his lawyer and 3 security guards when Johnny and June came off stage. "You're finished, Cash," Shelton said. His voice was shaking with rage. His eyes were bloodshot. "I'm filing the lawsuit tomorrow morning. $2.7 million in damages. Breach of contract, defamation, loss of revenue. You'll never recover from this. I'll make sure you die broke." Johnny walked past him without stopping. "Do what you gotta do. The other promoters will blacklist you. You'll never play another major venue. I'll personally call every single one." Johnny stopped, turned around. His voice was calm. "You know what's funny, Robert? I just proposed to the woman I love in front of 15,000 people on live television, and you think I care about your venues?" He smiled, not a happy smile, but a knowing one. "You spent 20 years building your empire. I just spent 60 seconds showing people it doesn't matter. Good luck with that." He walked out. June was waiting by the tour bus, still in her stage dress. She was still crying. "We're gonna be broke," Johnny said, holding her. "I know," June whispered. "Shelton's gonna sue us for everything. The house, the cars, everything. I know we might lose it all. I know." Johnny pulled back, looked at her face. Her makeup was ruined. Her eyes were red. She'd never looked more beautiful. "Was it worth it?" he asked. June Carter smiled, really smiled for the first time in months. "Ask me in 50 years. Robert Shelton filed a $2.7 million lawsuit on February 25, 1968. The trial lasted 9 weeks and cost Johnny $340,000 in legal fees. Johnny's lawyer presented something Shelton hadn't counted on: the actual contract. It said June Carter couldn't perform as a scheduled act. It said nothing about proposals, nothing about personal moments, nothing about what Johnny Cash chose to do with his own stage time. The judge ruled in Johnny's favor. Not only was Johnny cleared of all charges, but Shelton was ordered to pay Johnny's legal fees, all $340,000 of them. But that wasn't the end of Robert Shelton's empire. The CBC footage of Johnny's proposal aired on March 1, 1968. It became the most watched country music moment in television history. 23 million people tuned in. The network replayed it 6 times. Newspapers across North America ran the story on their front pages, and every single one of them saw Shelton's company name in the credits, right before they saw Johnny Cash defy everything Shelton stood for. Letters flooded CBC, thousands of them. They all said the same thing: "Thank you for not cutting the cameras." And they said something else too: "Shame on Shelton Entertainment Group." Within 6 months, 12 major artists dropped Shelton's company. Loretta Lynn, Conway Twitty, Tammy Wynette, they all said the same thing: "If you tried to stop that moment, you don't understand what music is. You don't understand what love is, and I don't want to work with someone who doesn't understand either." Sponsors pulled out. Coca-Cola ended their $6 million contract. Ford Motors followed with their $8 million deal. RCA Victor renegotiated down to $1.2 million. By 1970, Shelton Entertainment Group was worth $11 million, down from $50 million in just 2 years. Shelton tried to rebuild. He couldn't. The industry had moved on. Artists wanted creative control. They wanted authenticity. They wanted what Johnny Cash had shown them: the courage to choose love over money. Shelton sold his company in 1972 for $3 million, less than 10% of what it had been worth. He retired to Palm Springs, bitter and broke. He gave one interview in 1985, right before he died. The interviewer asked, "Do you regret trying to stop Johnny Cash that night?" Shelton was silent for a long time. Then, "I regret everything about that night, but mostly I regret not understanding that some moments are bigger than business. Johnny understood that. I didn't, and it cost me everything." Johnny and June Carter got married on March 1, 1968, 1 week after the proposal. They stayed married for 35 years, until June's death in May 2003. Johnny followed her 4 months later. In September 2003, he told his daughter Roseanne, "I can't live without her." In a 1996 interview with Rolling Stone, June Carter Cash was asked about that night in Ontario. "That night," she said, "Johnny didn't just propose to me, he told the whole world that love matters more than money, more than contracts, more than fear, more than what other people think you should do. He risked everything, his career, his house, his future, for one moment of truth. I never forgot that, and I never let him forget it either. Every time things got hard, I'd remind him, you got down on one knee in front of 15,000 people for me. We can get through anything." She paused, tears in her eyes. "And we did. For 35 years, we did." Johnny Cash lost $750,000 that night as penalty for violating the tour contract. He spent 9 weeks in court. He was blacklisted from half the major venues in North America for 2 years. His income dropped by 60% in 1968, but he gained something Robert Shelton could never buy: proof that he meant what he sang about. That when he said, "I walk the line," he wasn't just talking about music, he was talking about life, about choosing love even when it costs everything. The most viral moment in country music history wasn't planned by a producer or scripted by a publicist. It wasn't focus grouped or market tested. It was one man, on his knees, choosing love over everything else, choosing truth over profit, choosing June over an empire. Robert Shelton built a $50 million empire on controlling artists, manipulating contracts, and putting business before everything else. Johnny Cash destroyed it in 60 seconds by refusing to be controlled. And 56 years later, we still remember the proposal. We still watch the footage. We still tear up when Johnny gets down on one knee. Nobody remembers Robert Shelton's company name. Johnny Cash lost money that night. He lost security. He lost safety. But he won something infinitely more valuable. He became the man June Carter always believed he could be. He proved that love is worth more than fear, and that's what we still talk about today. That's what matters. That's what lasts.